Hi, this is Stephen Beschloss with America, America,
And I'm Mark Jacob with the Stop the Presses newsletter.
and this is Media Misses.
Today we're going to talk about two items in the news that we hope don't turn into an emerging trend. First off, the New York Times finally wrote a hard hitting story for its weekend editions about Donald Trump and how he's showing bad signs of age. His rhetoric is rambling. He keeps on confusing countries, and he'll campaigned in Georgia and then announced that he had a great day in Louisiana. And they finally wrote the same story essentially that they wrote about Joe Biden a million times. So good, that's fantastic. But other media don't seem to be kind of going along on that. They seem to have remained cautious about that. So why is that? And that disturbs us a little bit. The second item that we want to talk about is NBC Universal acquiring a documentary about Trump's family separation policy. So they have it. They could broadcast it at any time. They've decided to wait until December, after the election. So why are they doing that? It's unclear. It's disturbing. And it makes you wonder whether we're seeing in the news media some sort of um, anticipatory obedience or complying in advance by news media, big media organizations that are worried about being punished if Trump wins election, which is a very disturbing thing to ask about. And we want to talk about that a little bit.
Right,
Stephen?
right. Always worried about those people who depend on access bending over in all the wrong ways to ensure that they get it. Um, the Peter Baker story, Peter Baker and Dylan Friedman story that was as tough as we've seen by the New York Times, just reinforcing your point. There was a line which I thought was great. His peaches have grown darker, harsher, longer, angrier, less focused, more profane, and increasingly fixated on the past. A pretty good summary, and there was even data in the piece to summarize statistically the fact of that. Great. That was on Sunday. 2 days later, for all the world, I could not find the story. So it seemed like it had disappeared from the Times's digital pages. Now, I'm not saying that they necessarily consciously made a decision to remove it, but I don't know about you, Mark, but I had a hard time finding the story, which told me they agreed to publish it and then they chose not to amplify it,
Well,
and that had the effect, I think, of ensuring that all the other media that should have picked up on it didn't.
well, right. I mean, stories do tend to kind of roll down the river, in today's media environment. But
But it wasn't a small story; it was a big
it
story.
wasn't. And remember the Biden pylon? I mean, it was unbelievable,
Right.
and it was all media doing it just about. And this is really, I think this is equivalent or comparable. I mean, why aren't other media writing about this? And you have to wonder if they're just scared to, or they just don't want to. They just want to. They're afraid to cover this as a tough election, especially when the truth is you are seeing Trump really doing disturbing things, talking about bad genes, and I mean he's behaving in a way that ought to really alarm people, and the news media need to write about it. And if they've decided that they're just going to go vanilla on us uh, and just report what everyone says and that's it for the next 3 weeks, that's a bad thing. I mean,
Well, that's a danger. And look, I mean, I get the fear of a vindictive Trump. We've been seeing it by all of his enablers, all of the people who should be speaking out who have remained frightened to do so. But to this point about anticipatory obedience, I want to share just that couple of sentences from Timothy Snyder from On Freedom, the Yale University historian on freedom and on tyranny, where he discusses this idea of complying in advance. His words are this: most of the power of authoritarianism is freely given. In times like these, individuals think ahead about what a more repressive government will want and then offer themselves without being asked. A citizen who adapts in this way is teaching power what it can do. And I would add to that, a journalist or a media organization who adapts in this way is teaching power, is teaching Trump what he and they can get away with.
Yeah, I mean, people need to stay tough. This is a really important time period, and we need journalism to be rigorous and honest, and in the moment, not in kind of, oh, is he going to punish our news organization?
Yeah, and look, I mean, we continue to see the criticisms of Kamala Harris in terms of her, the choices of who she's being interviewed by. We see the criticisms continue of how she answers particular questions from 60 Minutes or some of the other interviewers that she's given access to of late. I get there's the natural effort to try to question the candidate who's not giving the interview to the New York Times or not making a commitment to bow down, if you will, to the mainstream media, but is instead pursuing other platforms that allow the ticket to get to other audiences that they're trying to reach. I get that natural discomfort with their feeling like their prevalence, their priority, their centrality is being called into question, and that makes people more critical. But again, there is a terrible sense of imbalance in how this coverage is happening
Right,
once again.
and the media obsession with access shouldn't mean that we lose access to democracy.
Right,
Let's
right.
get real.
Right. We have less than 30 days. Time is running out. This is a time for every journalist to use maximum effort to do the most basic thing, which is to tell the truth.
Okay, amen. See you next
So we'll
time.
see you next time, Mark. Thanks.